phenomenal, legendary, and blessed morning, noon, night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Mustard Seed Movement. I am Dracia. So, church was amazing today, and I had a conversation with a couple of these these two young ladies at church. Well, actually, it was a peer and then these two young ladies that I believe are part of the young adults ministry at my new church. And they basically inspired this video. So I know I've talked a lot about talking to you guys about what God has done in my life and moving into a new state, a new city, a new place. And so today's the day. This probably will be a lengthy video, but I might make it a two-parter depending on how long it takes me to tell the story. So some of you may or may not know, depending on if you tuned in before, if you've seen any of my older videos. I had once experienced abuse by somebody very close to me. It was not like a husband wife situation. And I had moved from that person and I had moved back to New York, and um, I had been there for basically the last 10 years living with my best friend and her family. And in that time, I have had to grow and build and become a better person, a better follower of Christ, and the journey has not necessarily been easy. I had wanted to move for quite some time, probably since 2017, 2018. And I initially wanted to move to Texas, and I thought that that was where God was going to take me. So many people, um, literally up until probably last year, people were moving there, and I thought, ooh, this might be my thing. But that was not the case. My story goes a little differently. So, where do I begin? So around 2023, late 2022, late 2023, had been talking to my oldest sister about moving and how, I was thinking about Texas, but it doesn't seem like that's where God is leading me. And she had asked me about whether I would consider the Carolinas. And I was like, I don't really know much about the Carolinas or whatever. And I had looked, and I was like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. And in looking, I thought maybe based on like research and everything, maybe Charlotte would have been the place that I would have gone. And I actually didn't put, I had a vision board, and I actually didn't put Charlotte specifically, but I put North Carolina on there. And one day I just felt like Holy Spirit was like, take it off. And it was up there for a little while, maybe some months. And for whatever reason, this unction I had, or this voice that I heard, I was just like, okay. And I was basically operating in obedience. So my obedience journey probably started around maybe 2022, and I was just, it might have started earlier than that, but I was really um doing my best to focus on like being obedient to any prompts of the word of the Lord, and just moving forward with that. And so I took it off. I took North Carolina, the little paper I had up there, and I took it off and I left it there. And then I had this conversation again with my sister, and she was like, are you still thinking about, the Carolinas? I'm like, yeah, but I don't know where I would go. And then at the top of 2024, my brother had he had a franchise that he started in New York, but the franchise actually was birthed where I'm at currently. But at the time, I didn't know that was where I would be. And he was like, "There's two places that I want you to check out," and one was in North Carolina, and one was in South Carolina. And I said, okay. And I looked and looked, and I was doing my research. I was on YouTube, I was on Google, and I was just searching out all these things, hearing different people's testimonies, seeing certain reviews. And where I am now in South Carolina stuck out to me. So I had talked to him. I told him, and he was like, "Well, when do you think you're going?" And I was like, "I don't know." Now today is actually, I think, October 20th, and so I was thinking about coming down here between September and October to visit, to see. And um he was like, "Oh, okay, cool, And he was asking me like how long I would stay down here, excuse me. And he was asking me how long I would stay or whatever. And I was like, definitely more than 4 days, to at least get the feel and everything or whatever. Fine. So talk to my sister now, the same one that I talked to before that actually said what I consider the Carolinas. And I talked to her and I told her the city that I was thinking about. And she was like, "Well, why are you waiting so long?" Because she asked me, she was like, "When do you plan on going?" And I was like, "I don't know, September, October." And she's like, "Why are you waiting so long?" And I'm like, "Well, the money is not right now. I have some things I still need to clear up, yada, yada, yada." And she was like, "Okay." And she left it alone. She didn't say nothing else. But then I think it had to be a day, maybe a couple of days that week, and we spoke again. And she was like, "Why are you waiting again?" And I was telling her, and she was like, "Well, I feel it's on my spirit." Now, mind you, she doesn't claim like to be a Christian or a follower of Jesus, but this is what she felt. And so she was like, "I feel like, and this is something that I want to do for you, or whatever. I feel like the spirit is leading me, or God is leading me to offer this to you." And I said, "Okay," because she does believe in a higher power. She does believe in God. Just she hasn't fully come to Jesus Christ yet. And she was like, "It would be a birthday gift, but how about I pay for everything and you just do the rental car?" Well, I'm saying, like, what? And in my mind, I'm like, you can't pass that up, right? Like, who does that? And I was like, okay, oh, let me just back up a little bit. So I don't know if you guys believe in like doing things to kind of show your faith. And so prior to this conversation, I think with my sister, I'm almost certain it was after the conversation with my brother. But and actually I think that I'm trying to think if this happened before, cuz I have like a mentorship group that I'm a part of, and my mentor, we had um like a night of prayers with each other, and I'm not sure if I did this before or after. I want to say I did it before, but I'm not 100% for it. But it was in March of 2024, just so that's clear. I, out of faith that this was going to be the year, or I was leading up to the year which I would move. And so I packed 3 boxes, just of stuff that I didn't necessarily need right away, but I know that I would move with. Out of faith, I was letting God know, like, if this year or the following year to come was my time to move, I was going to do something as a faith move, that I was serious. So I packed these 3 boxes. It was basically like books and some things that I don't use, but I knew that I would need them. And um, I'm almost certain I did it before this gathering. But anyway, at this gathering, that was one of the things that I was praying for confirmation of this particular city. I had I had specifics about where I would live and all the things, and I'll get to that too. And um, so now this is we're at the end of March into the beginning of April that I'm having this conversation with my sister, and her asking me, why am I waiting so long to go see this city? And so I'm like, okay, so now she's offered this opportunity to pay for everything. I just have to pay for the rental car. Cool. So I said yes to her. Then she was going to do all the arrangements, obviously, because she was the one paying for it. And I was just going to pay for the rental car. So once she booked the arrangements, I would know when to book the rental car. Well, she made one booking and something happened with the dates or something she didn't realize. And she was trying to change it and it ended up being canceled. So at first I was like, man, maybe this is not God's idea for me. Like maybe this is not God's will for me. Well, we talked a little more or whatever. And mind you, we were trying to figure out the dates. So I was thinking the middle of April. And she was like, that wouldn't work for her because she was on call. And I said, okay, no problem. So it was either going to be the end or I forget how many weeks it was between like the middle and like the end. But we kept going back and forth. And mind you, I'm putting in dates to my boss thinking, oh, it's going to be this weekend. Oh, it's going to be this week. Oh, it's going to be that week. And I kept like putting in time but canceling it. And then I remember telling her, don't approve anything yet. But she never went in, my boss. So anyway, we continue to go through back and forth. So my sister lost this first booking. And then she was like, don't worry about it. I'm going to get it booked and I'll let you know. So now a few days passed and I hadn't heard from her. And I was like, I definitely thought she was going to let me know. Like she was going to do this in the next 24 to 48 hours. So it had to be about 3 days. So then I finally called her and I'm like, hey, are we still doing it or whatever? And she was like, oh, I booked it last night. I forgot to tell you. Ma'am, I have to put in my days off. So I'm like, well, when did you book us for? So we were leaving April 27th. We were flying into North Carolina and we were going to drive into South Carolina. The flights were cheaper. And so I finally put my dates in to my boss and I didn't even tell her anything. And I also had a vacation booked for sometime in July, around my birthday actually, to go to Florida. And so none of that had got approved. The dates I was putting in before, plus my Florida vacation time, was not approved. Okay, I put this date in. We were going from the 27th to like the 2nd. Put it in, and within hours, I was getting the notifications that my boss approved my time off. So that was one thing. So now we get down there, and as we get down there, I told my sis, I said, okay, I got the rental car and all of that stuff. Listen, I want to drive down there because in case this is my city, I want to get to know it. And she was like, okay, cool. Now she works remotely, and so she wasn't going to be able to go to half of the places that I was going to see about where I would live. Now, mind you, I'm just going with the thought that I'm probably going to move like sometime in September, October, since now I'm checking it now, right? So I go to one place, I go to another place, I go to so I visit one place um, in the same area, but it's like 15, 20 minutes from where I actually live right now. So I went there first. Beautiful place. Loved it. I was like, oh, this is amazing. But they had like a income rate restriction. So that wasn't it. But I really had liked it. It was really cool. And it was more of an up and coming neighborhood. It wasn't full, like they're doing updates and stuff to the neighborhood. So I was like, okay, that's cool. But it was kind of off of the highway and it was kind of weird. So I was like, maybe, maybe not. Then I go to see the place where I live now, but they don't have a one bedroom for me to see. So I see a two bedroom. But I love it. But it's an older build, right? And I remember during my research, some of the newer builds were saying like it's loud, you can like the walls are paper thin, you can hear your neighbors, yada yada yada. Okay, fine. And so I I went to see that place And I asked the lady if my sister could come later. Well, later happened. My sister was tired from work. I was kind of tired. And we ended up not going. We went the following day. But in the morning, I had another place to go to. So I went to this other place in the same area as the first, but a little further out. And I went to see that place, and I was like, this is gorgeous. But let me tell y'all the joke. I asked the person, I was like, listen, are there street lights outside? Because I swear to you, when I drove up, I didn't feel like I saw like street lights on the side, like along the side of the road, whether it was the long poles, the wooden poles. I felt like I didn't see them. So they were like, yeah, I think so. I don't really go out much. So whatever, whatever, because where this place was, it was gorgeous, but it was like, I felt like it was kind of in the middle of no man's land. There was one little store at the end, and I had to drive like 10 to 15 minutes, I think, to like go and do my groceries, which is not really far. But I was like, I feel like if I fall in a ditch somewhere over here, nobody's gonna know I'm here. So that was a no for me, as even though the place was beautiful. And then the other place that I was going to see, I had realized it just was outside of my price bracket, and so it wasn't gonna work. Well, let's fast forward a little bit. Fast forward a little bit, and I put in um, the application for the place where I'm at now. I just took a chance. Now, I didn't hear a definitive yes or no about if I was to actually move here. I didn't. But I was stepping out on faith. And in stepping out on faith, I was like, look, God, I don't know if this is what you're leading me to do, but I'm going to step out on faith. And literally I had my laptop in my hand, and I was like, I felt physical fear, and we know that God did not give us the spirit of fear, but He gave us the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. But in that moment, I was like, okay, God, I'm gonna do this. And uh, the way they do things down here, it's like you'll hear something within like the next either 48 to 72 hours. And it literally had like that little inscription after I submitted the application. And mind you, I had to put money in for this application. So I was like, Lord, if I lose this money. Um, and also, I'll see if I could put it in this video. I'm not sure if I can because I'm not great at editing. But I think there was a young lady that is a mouthpiece for the Lord. And I had watched her video. And I can't remember if I watched it the day of or the night before. Or if I saw it the night before, but then I decided to watch it the day of. But I had put my application in. I seen this young lady's video, and this young lady's video was like, there's gonna be approvals, like you're gonna get approved for things. And I was like, okay. I didn't know if it was gonna be me though. So I put that application in. I kid you not, guys. It might have been it. I keep trying to remember if it was between like 11 and 1 o'clock when I put that application in. But can I tell you, by I know the time though that I received the call, and at 3:04 p.m. these people called me same day, May 1st, same day, and was like, "You're approved," and I was like, "What?" Like I literally was sitting there like, mind you, I have my phone in my hand, so I'm like, and I was like, okay, thank you. And they're like, okay, we're gonna send you the welcome letter. We're gonna send you all these things. You're gonna have to put your security deposit in by such and such date. And I'm like, what? Is this for real? So I don't want this video to go too long. I will leave you at that, and I will come back, and we're gonna talk about what happened after that. I mean, you kind of know, but I'll tell you the things that happened thereafter. So I love you. I hope this gave you some faith, and I look forward to seeing you in the next